Hey guys, welcome to a BRRRRCashFlow Investors Live. And today we are doing Q&A. It's Wednesday today. Hopefully everybody had a nice, safe 4th of July. And today we have a bunch of questions that are related to financing. So let's get started. For those of you that are new here, my name is Andrew, and hopefully as you're a part of the group, every single week we do these 3 times a week. Number one, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Before I get started, remember tomorrow there is the big Hispanic RIA. So if you don't speak Spanish, you're still welcome. We have tacos, we have some, I believe, beer, keg of beer, and some other drinks at Gina Diaz's office, Diaz Case Law in Berwyn. They're going to have the street blocked off. We have a fun party and a bunch of tacos and a bunch of fun. And this is a great taco truck. I actually like this taco truck. And then we will have the Ferrari, that will have the Rolls, and the Bentley out there. So this should be fun to do. So make sure you show up. This is tomorrow, 6:30. Having said that, let's jump right into it. So the first question was, what do you suggest in terms of a HELOC? Who should I go to in terms of getting a HELOC? Generally, the best people to get a HELOC, which is a home equity basically loan on your property, is generally with the bank that you already have a existing relationship with. Generally, like hypothetically, let's say you bank with Chase, then it'll be easier for you to go to Chase and just get a HELOC with them. It doesn't hurt that if you have a credit union. If you have a credit unions sometimes have some of the best rates that are out there to go out and take a look at it. So you can also go, generally bigger banks, like bigger lenders will not do a HELOC. Generally, it's the banks that you already have a home mortgage with, those people will be able to do the HELOC for you. So those are the first places I would go to, and I would not let somebody pull my credit whenever I'm doing a HELOC. The second question was, well, what is better for me? If I want to start investing, should I do a residential mortgage? Because a lot of people heard on the forums, on Bigger Pockets, different things. Should I do a residential mortgage? Should I do a commercial mortgage? So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you are somebody who's going to buy one house, right, and that's what you're going to do investing wise, you can do a residential mortgage and put 20% down and do it that way, right? Now, you have to have 20% down for that. But if you're somebody who's going to do a lot of properties and you want to stack up, you want to build a portfolio, then you should be looking at what we call a DSCR loan, right? It's based on the debt service, basically. So if your principal, interest, taxes, insurance on a property are, let's say, $1,800, and your rent is about $1,900, then you'll get that loan. Now, should you basically have a ratio of 1-to-1 whenever you buy a property? I don't think so. I think you're making a terrible mistake if you basically have $2,000 payments and your rent is only $2,000. I don't think that's a property you should be buying unless you know something otherwise. You have a ton of equity, $200,000-300,000 equity, and you're like, well, it's no big deal, Andrew. Then it's okay to do that. But if all that happens is you just break even and you don't have any other money, what happens if for some reason you have the property vacant for a month or 2 months or 3 months, right? Where are you going to come up with money from in terms of investing, in terms of being able to make your payments? So it's really important. But the best way to scale up and scale up in a hurry is with commercial loans. So there are 3 products you've probably heard me talk about all the time. Number 1 is a residential product, Fannie Freddie product. Great product. You're going to get it today for about 6.2 to 6.4, 6.5% is what you're going to pay for it. If you go to a commercial product, you're going to be somewhere around 7.5 today, minimum. Right? That's kind of where it's going to be unless you do a buy down. So the difference is not that much. With a commercial product, you have a lot more flexibility. You can buy the property with an LLC. You can buy the property in a business name. You can buy the property with a joint venture sort of situation. You can partner up on the property. You can do many, many things. With the residential loan, it's a great loan. There's nothing wrong with it. The only problem is qualification standards are going to be a lot higher. They're going to ask you a lot more questions. They're going to look at your bank accounts a lot better, a lot more scrutiny. You're going to have to make sure you filed taxes last year. If you basically didn't file taxes, you're behind in your taxes, you have any other issues, then guess what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to get the residential loan. Used to be about, say, 6-7 years ago, you didn't have the commercial product available, and so then you had no choice. You had to go residential, or you had to go to a small portfolio lender. So remember, 3 products. Residential, the toughest to qualify for, has some of the best rates. Problem is you can only get up to 9 properties, and you're going to have hell to get up to 9 properties. With the mid sector is your portfolio lenders or small banks, small credit unions. Those people, each credit union, each bank generally will give you up to $800,000 to $1 million generally. Some banks will go up to $2 or $3 million, depends on the size of that credit union or size of the portfolio lender. But generally, they're going to stop at $1 million. And then they're going to refer you to a sister bank. If you go to a commercial loan product, which is a DSCR loan, that loan is meant to build rental properties, to build a portfolio. There, you can get any number of loans as long as the property cash flows. So hopefully that answers your question. The second question that was related to that was that what are the rates that you're paying? So like I said today, in terms of the residential rates, we're paying somewhere around 6.5. In terms of your commercial product, which is going to be a portfolio lender product, then we're paying somewhere around 6.7, 6.8, somewhere over there. It's just a little bit higher, but these are small banks, small credit unions. Those are the people, they're giving you almost as good a product as you can get with a residential loan in terms of interest. But with a portfolio lender or with a small bank, small credit union, generally their loans are going to be a 5-year balloon to a 7-year balloon. If you go to a product which is a DSCR loan, that's going to be a 30-year product generally, and you have the flexibility of doing interest only. You can do a 30-year amortization like a regular loan. So that's going to be the most flexible product out there for you. Or you can do a 10 and 3 where for a period of time you have a flexible rate and then it becomes a permanent rate. So there are different options that you can go into. So residential, about 6.3 to 6.5. Commercial portfolio loan, somewhere around 6.5 to 6.7. A pure commercial product, 30-year fixed type of a loan, that's going to be somewhere around 7.5, 7.6, 7.7. Now, I'm talking about for rental properties. Now, if you're looking at borrowing money from a hardline lender or a commercial lender for say, fix and flip, or you're borrowing money for a new construction. For a fix and flip, rates today are going to be somewhere around 1 to 2 points, and your rate is going to be somewhere around 10, 11% minimum. Right? That's where you're going to be for a commercial rate. For new construction, you're going to be similar, just your term may be different. You may get 18 months to do your build out, that sort of a thing. So that's going to be the only difference is, and you have to watch like where do you borrow money? Now, if you're doing private money on the other hand, I've borrowed private money as low as 6% all the way to 10, 12%. If you're in mastery, then you can get it with 2 points, 1% a month. So that's another way of doing that. So hopefully that helps as we talk about the interest rates. Keep these questions coming because that's how every single week we have lots to talk about. So the next question was interesting. When do you get to call yourself or ourself a millionaire? That's an interesting question, and that's a fun question. And when you get to $1 million portfolio, or when you have enough equity in your portfolio? So let's think about it from 2 different perspectives, right? Actually, hey Joe, can you point the camera over there? So let me just draw this out, right? So how would somebody be a millionaire? So let's just look at it. So this is with stocks, ST, and this is with RE, real estate, right? So in the stock market, let's just say, hypothetically, every year you started with $100,000 in savings, and then every year you're adding, let's say, $10,000 to your savings, right? And you keep doing it, you're basically producing a return on it. X amount of years later, let's say you end up at 1.1 million in your stock portfolio. So I don't know, this is clearly 1.1 million is clearly not a multimillionaire. Yeah, do you have $1 million in stock? Yes, right? So to me, this is just me. You have $1 million in stock, but tomorrow the stock market, basically drops suddenly. Well, you may go below $1 million. So are you really a millionaire? Well, you're kind of there. You're somewhere around. So if you have $1 million or more in terms of savings, in terms of investments, in terms of giving all things being equal, you're a millionaire. I'm just here to tell you today, right? $1 million is not enough for you to really feel secure in your retirement, because it's not about the million, right? Think about this. When you retire, let's just say you retire with $1 million. So $1 million, right, is a stack of, so I have 2 of these, that's all I could hold, but $1 million is pretty much 3 of these and another stack of 100,000. That's really what $1 million is, because each of these stacks is 300,000, right? So what does that mean? So think about this. Average person retires somewhere around 65. Your life expectancy is to live to be 85. Now, most people say, they're like, but Andrew, what you don't realize is that for most people, when they retire, their expenses go down. Okay, so if you mean to tell me, if you retire 20 years from now, right, if you're in your 40s, you're 45, you're going to retire 20 years from now. So you mean to tell me that if today you are used to living on $100,000, 20 years from now, you realize the 100,000 is worth 50. So now your ability, meaning the same 100,000, right, is going to buy you a lot less stuff, right? So, this whole idea that you're going to live on 75% of the income that you have now because now you're retired. I don't know why somebody would work 40 years of their life, right, and then retire where they have less money to spend, when these are supposed to be your golden years in life, and you're supposed to have the most amount of money you've ever had to be able to live a great quality of life. Isn't that why you're working for, right? So my point being is this, that if you have $1 million, let's say, cash million, and every year you start drawing 100,000 out of it, how long is that $1 million going to last you? Maybe 10 years, 12 years, 11 years. Right? Because even if your money keeps compounding still, it's not going to last you more than 10 or 11 years, right? The biggest fear in America today for people is running out of cash. Why do you think older people go basically to the happy hour before anybody else shows up? Why do you think they are basically, not well off? It's because they are afraid of running out of cash or savings before they do. Before their expiration date comes, their basically account is going to expire, meaning they don't have enough saved. So $1 million is not enough, but here you're legitimately a millionaire. Now with real estate, right, think about this. This is why real estate is so powerful, that if you have a few investments and you have an equity position of about $1 million, $1.3 million, you're a legitimate millionaire. But the difference is this: with real estate, you're producing cash flow. So you never have to touch your equity in the properties. You can just leave that aside. The cash flow that the property produces every single month, that is what is powerful about real estate. See, the problem with the stock market is this: you're going to have to take, now, some people say, well, you're going to have to take distribution. You don't have to take distribution out of your real estate equity. You have to take distribution out of your stock as per if you have the money in a 401k, right? That's why real estate is a superior option to invest for you. And as long as you have a million, 3 million for in equity, you're a legitimate millionaire. Is that enough? I don't think so. That's enough. Today, to me, if you're going to retire in the next 10 or 15 years, you need to have, what you should focus on is not how much money you have in equity. What you have to focus on is how much cash flow am I getting every single month? So if you have, let's say your need is $5,000 a month, you need to have $6,000, $7,000 coming in. Why extra? Because you have a 20% margin built in. And then what you should look at is, it's not just about cash flow, it's the guarantee with which, right? The predictability with which that cash flow is going to keep coming in. It's not only about cash flow, it's about the prediction with which it's going to keep coming in. Meaning, if I have great quality properties in great quality areas with great quality tenants, and somebody else has 10 properties in shitty areas with shitty tenants, guess what? In the great areas, I'm going to have a much more predictable cash flow that's going to come in year after year after year after year. That is what you should shoot for, because that is much easier to build than it is to build just pure, just to be able to save $1 million. So that, hopefully that makes some sense. And that answers the question, because the question was, when can I call myself a millionaire? And when I get $1 million portfolio. $1 million portfolio is just the start, right? It's great, it's fantastic, but does the portfolio create enough income that a $1 million investment would create? I think then you can call yourself a legitimate millionaire. Because if you look at it, if I invest $1 million today in the stock market or in some sort of a safe vehicle, what is the return that I can get? 4 or 5%, right? That's it. That's all I'm going to get. So if your cash flow every single year, to me, is about 60,000, bare minimum, right? Ideally somewhere around 70 to 80, then you can call yourself a millionaire, right? Anything over that, you go into the multimillionaire category. So hopefully that makes some sense. And, next question was, Andrew, who were some of your mentors, coaches? Do you believe in mentors and coaches? So the first person I ever had was Mike Ferry, as I've discussed in the previous podcast. So there were 2 or 3 people that I think have contributed to where I am today. Number 1 was Mike Ferry. Number 2 was listening to those recordings from Earl Nightingale, and every kind of motivation thing that you have that's out there, probably at some point, sooner or later, I've listened to. Even Tony Robbins, this and that, didn't listen to that a lot. I think great content, but I just, for some reason, I related a lot more to what Mike Ferry taught. It was much more based on a real estate agent, real estate education, and then stuff like Earl Nightingale and other motivational speakers. I thought Earl has been absolutely fantastic, right? I've loved Earl since I was like 18, 19 years old, once I first got the cassettes at that time and recordings. After that, I'm trying to think how many. So I went to this one coaching thing for speaking, and this company, I paid them $90,000, right? And if you don't believe me, right, I had an issue with them, so you'll probably find a case in Florida regarding it, right? And I spent $90,000, got completely ripped off, but that whole process of realizing has made me millions. I mean, legitimately has made me millions. Then I spent last year, then I went to Dan Kennedy's thing. I spent a bunch of money over there, maybe at least $25,000-$30,000. And then last year I spent close to about almost $100,000, right? So a lot of people, I didn't finish college, but I can guarantee you I have paid more in mentorship, coaching, all this kind of stuff. A lot of it, what it did was Mike Ferry's teaching, the whole way of doing things, changed my life, because what it did was, it's not like somebody took me and said, okay, here's everything. What he did was he gave me hope, right? Probably the biggest thing he said is that doesn't matter if you're fat, if you're thin, if you're tall, if you're good looking, not good looking, whatever it is. He's like, listen, you idiot, there's hope for you, right? And if you follow a basic thought process, a way of thinking, what we do today in Mastery, all of it is a copy paste of the thinking and the philosophy that Mike Ferry taught. Mike Ferry used to always say, if you want to be a good agent, any agent that basically sells one house in Beverly Hills for 10 million, right? It's fantastic. They probably make a lot of money, but can you and I duplicate that? No, because if you're not married to the right person, if you're not in the right circle, you don't live in the Beverly Hills, guess what? You're probably not going to sell a $10 million house. So that is not duplicatable. Right? What he always used to say was small to medium-sized houses, a lot of inventory turnover, and sell them like hotcakes. That's something you can duplicate in any part of the country, right? And what he used to always say is you have to build a duplicatable, predictable, repeatable business. And when I came to real estate investing, I brought that philosophy with me that if I'm going to do flips, I need to do them duplicatable, predictable, and so I can build a business. With rentals, if you notice, what we do is boring, everyday stuff. And I challenge anybody that is willing to show me their books, I will show them my books. Because I challenge you, what you will not find is outside of Mastery, anybody who has the kind of portfolios that we have of people in Mastery, right here in Chicago and now in Florida, right? Because it's based on a simple, predictable, and duplicatable business, right? This is not based on doing fancy things. And the other part of it is, see, a lot of times people are like, well, I know this guy, he buys malls. Well, guess what? I didn't have the money to start buying malls. I know somebody who does big multifamilies. Great, right? How much money do they have, meaning in their bank account? What is their net worth? And what is their cash flow every single month? If you can show me, and you can show me I can build it from scratch, I have no problem. You have a coaching program where I can grow, I can take my business to the next level. Hey, man, I'm in. But then I want to see the results. So I think a lot of times joining mentorships, coaching, all these kind of things, the more you put yourself out there, you're going to have to make a financial commitment, no question about it. But before you join, right? And I have made this mistake few different times, right? Where I always think I suck and everybody else is better. I genuinely, a lot of times I think that, the neighbor's grass is greener until I go on the neighbor's grass. Then I realize, oh, no. Actually, I was doing something pretty well, right? And that's but yet what happens is, I truly believe this, that whenever, in the Bible or any of the religions, they always say, right, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And a lot of times that's what it is, that when we go out seeking, we will meet somebody. And this is not a process where you go somewhere and that's that, right? Because today, especially with a lot of these masterminds, with a lot of these coaching programs, it is, I can't stand them. And I can't stand them because of this, because everybody who comes over there, everybody's a bloody hero, right? Here, I seem to be struggling all the time, where anytime I want to grow, I'm struggling. I mean, every time I want to grow, I struggle. Yet you go over there and you're like, oh my God, look at their business. Until you get them at the back of the room and actually start asking them questions, they can't come up with 100, 200, 300,000 bucks. Right? And then it's like, okay, what you just said at the front of the room is all bullshit, right? Unless you have assets and unless you have a tremendous amount of cash flow, it is all bullshit. And so if you're going to go to a mentor, if you're going to go to a coach, if you're going to go to anybody, that is what you should look at, is not how good. Today, there are an incredible amount of people that are really good speakers, that have a great social media following, that have great BS. But guys, that is not real long-term wealth. Long-term wealth always has been built. It takes a little bit of time to build it, right? In 2 years, you can get yourself in a position where you have legitimately 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 coming in. It's not going to show up yet in a bank account, but you can have the property set up by about end of 2.5, 3 years. If you're good, right? If you're just like an absolute beast in terms of working. And I'm talking about with real estate, right? You could be in a good position, and then it can grow from there. It's not going to happen. Anybody, I don't care if it's with Airbnbs, I don't care what it is with, right? And I've tried a bunch of things. I don't know of anything where overnight you can be a multimillionaire. Now, maybe you're that good looking, you're that charming, you're that sexy, or you're that good where you could be a phenomenal influencer. Even today, you want to be an influencer, man, you better be an extraordinarily obnoxious human being. You better be an extremely, something that you have to have something special to do that. Because why? Because it's much easier today that even that space is becoming, it's extremely, extremely, extremely competitive space. So you can do all those things. It's just that it depends. But 100%, right? If you're not basically going out and hanging out with people who genuinely have assets, who genuinely have cash flow, they're not going to grow, right? If you want to be a great basketball player, you got to go hang around people who are great at basketball. You want to have a better relationship with the good Lord up there, you got to go hang out with people who have the good relationship or who you feel are much more spiritual than you are. For anything in life, right? For a little kid, we get a soccer coach, or we get a baseball coach, or we get somebody who can help them. As they get to the next level of coach better be better. As they get to college, as they get to pros, the level of the coaches as you grow are going to basically be at the next level. Even for me, I figured out how to do real estate to a certain extent my way, right? And it's worked. It's worked very well. But I am looking for coaches all the time. I'm looking for people all the time who are at the next level because they know something that I don't know. And if I don't, how am I going to get there is I have to keep looking up. I have to keep finding people. If I have to keep doing that, so do you. Having said that, guys, remember tomorrow is the fun tacos and beer and everything. If you can't speak Spanish, don't worry. There's a bunch of us that can't, but it's supposed to be an event that's being sponsored by Hispanic RIA, which is part of us, and Ms. Gina Diaz at her office. It'll be a nice, fun party. Show up. Look forward to seeing you then and talk to you on Friday.